citizens of the free world. I am Hoverman Cop, defender of justice, defender of the people, defender of the earth. My former chief of police, who still is currently in command in Houston, Texas, was off duty September the 6th, 2019, driving home. On his way home, he observed a Dodge Charger flying past him going over 100 miles per hour. Shortly after seeing that, a Mercedes passed him as well, chasing the Charger in and out of traffic. So, Chief Acevedo took action, got on his radio and called in a chopper to help him follow the speeding vehicles. The driver of the Mercedes pulled over and he was arrested. Chief Acevedo stated, and I quote, "We've got a lot of traffic fatalities out here," unquote. Listen to this.
Seeing is never a good idea, especially if you're doing it in front of the Houston police chief.
That's exactly what happened last night when Chief Art Acevedo caught a couple of them in the act just before 11 o'clock on Bagby in the 4th Ward. The chief says he was headed home from work when a Dodge Charger flew past him at more than 100 miles per hour. He started to follow the car when a Mercedes passed him and started to race the Charger in and out of traffic. Well, Chief Acevedo got on his radio and called in a chopper to help him keep track of them.
Yielded, admitted he saw the other car at 100 and decided, let me see what my car can do. So it is what it is. We got a lot of traffic fatalities out here. People think they watch the Fast and the Fury. They don't realize that's Hollywood. This is real life.
Okay, well, with all due respect to your position as the chief of Houston, as my former chief, I have a couple of questions for you, sir. You, sir, Chief Acevedo, you took appropriate action to go after a vehicle because you believed, due to so many traffic fatalities, this vehicle needed to be stopped. Well, sir, how can you believe that this was okay, but you forced your own police officer, who is the most decorated police officer to ever wear that uniform as a Houston police officer? You forced me to resign or be fired for going after a corrupt police officer in Dallas, Texas, Amber Geiger, who killed an innocent man in his own home. How could you and your chief executive staff criminalize a police officer and make him look as if he is a criminal for standing up and going against injustice, corruption within police agencies, for going against police officers who are killing innocent civilians, sir? Another question for you, sir. You went after a speeding driver for a moving violation. He killed no one, but you saw fit within your right to call a chopper to help you to get this criminal for speeding and have him arrested. Why did you not, sir, help this declared police officer who made Officer of the Year, accommodation letters from the former mayor, and good written letters from citizens, has the most felony arrests and charges as a single-man patrol unit in world history? No one in that department or anywhere never has accomplished what I have been able to accomplish with the help of the Almighty God to remove dangerous criminals throughout my career off the streets. And knowing this, all documented in your face, you have it on your desk still probably. Why did you not, sir, assist me when on a night I encountered a suspect off duty on the property where I lived? A few homes were being broken into, and I observed this suspect, and one thing led to another. This suspect was about to attack me while I was off duty, but in uniform as a courtesy officer, took appropriate methods to prevent this suspect from injuring me. He was able to get in his vehicle and fled the scene. I drove after him in my personal vehicle and discontinued following him to prevent any other civilians on that road from being injured or killed. Called for backup. No backup from the sheriff deputy department came to assist, and when they did come to the scene, they refused to do a report, refused to help me locate this suspect. And the department that is under your control, sir, ignored this report, ignored that incident, did not help me, did not come to my aid. So I, in return, wrote the most historic comic book of a real crime for that suspect within that comic book to catch this suspect because no one else would help me. So I made a comic book with this crime within that comic book to get help from the citizens and to reconnect and reestablish a positive relationship with communities across Houston and around the world through Hoverman Cop Fugitive Wanted that has brought me to the place where I am now, and to inform the world of the things that I've accomplished honorably. And you, sir, in the department did nothing to help me, but you accused, your chief executive staff accused me of wrongdoing, of policy violations that I did not commit. How do you explain that, sir? Now, Chief Sir Acevedo, you, sir, was off duty. You had no uniform on. It was a traffic violation. Had your civilian clothes on, your jeans on your way home. I ask you, sir, is it within the policies that you accuse me of committing? Is it within policies to go after a moving traffic violation, in and out of traffic, to follow a vehicle going over 100 miles per hour over a moving traffic violation? Did this driver kill anyone? Did this driver commit a felony violation? Was it worth following after a vehicle going over 100 miles per hour in and out of traffic? Was it worth putting other drivers at risk on that road? And is it in your policies to have your weapon hanging on the inside visibly of your right pocket in civilian clothes? Is it within policy to make a judgment to call in choppers, and knowing this, police officers in specialized units were moving quickly and fastly to your location to assist you on a simple traffic violation? Was it worth that? Is that within the policy, sir? Should you be removed and forced and fired from your position for what you did by the accusations and the judgment you brought towards the most declarated police officer in the Houston Police Department, sir? Did you, sir, commit any moving traffic violations in pursuit of that driver in your civilian clothes in either your personal vehicle or city vehicle? Was you going after that driver in your personal vehicle or the city vehicle? Either one, if you were in your personal vehicle or your city vehicle, were you following the traffic speed limit? Were you going over the speeding limit to go after this driver who was going over 100 miles per hour? And if so, is that legal? Is that in your policies for an off-duty police officer to break speeding laws to go after another vehicle for a moving violation? Was it worth it? Is that in your policies to do that, sir? All due respect, sir. Mr. Chief Acevedo, what you did, you deemed it appropriate and right. You saw that vehicle driving over 100 miles per hour. It was a moving violation. You, in your mind, saw fit to call for a chopper and remove that chopper out of service when it could have been used for something more appropriate for serious violations and crimes that is going on throughout this city. But you saw fit to do that. Okay. You deemed it necessary to cause other police officers to come to your need, to the area where you were located, to arrest this driver. So there was multiple officers and units en route that could have been harmed and endangered in pursuit to your location. You deemed that to be alright. But you deemed it to be a crime and condemned a police officer who was given his entire career to serve and protect communities, and you forced him to resign or be fired for going against corrupt officers and injustice. And you stacked against this officer who has done nothing but good for the department and criminalized him. And even when in the most dangerous situation that an undercover officer can be in, he was accused of committing violations, when in fact I spoke nothing but the truth in that investigation and had no written, verbal complaints from any suspect at any time, and was attacked, isolated, condemned, ignored, and ashamed for doing the job I loved, to remove criminals off the streets, and I had no help from you or your department or your staff. But you deemed it right to go after a moving traffic violator and arrest him. We have in our agencies leaders from chiefs to captains, lieutenants, sergeants, and police officers all across this country who believe they can do whatever they want because of their position and authority of power, and condemn others who are doing the right thing when they are doing the wrong thing. There's a complete imbalance within departments across this country, and there needs to be a complete change and a removal of every corrupt police officer and insane officer in every level of departments to restore respect and order, bridging the gap between police and citizens in this country we call America. Over.